I'm sorry, these people from the 20s make the 80s look like kindergarten.
In what
with
way?
the
What
drinking,
do you
drugging,
mean?
spending,
Yeah.
and whoring around. I mean, hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Outsiders.
I'm Seth Austin.
I'm Todd Pickering.
And we're a couple of actors stuck on the outside, trying to make our way to the inside of the biz.
Hollywood, baby.
Hey everyone, if you want to contact us, look at Todd's pen. Did I say pen? Pez mug. That's a beautiful mug. Sipping coffee, having a good little morning here in Los Angeles, California. If you want to contact us, the way to do that is theoutsidersbiz@gmail.com. That's theoutsidersbiz@gmail.com. I think, Todd, you should lip sync with me more. That was fun.
Was that fun? Email us. We'll talk. We'll have a little coffee talk. No big
we'll talk about how great SNL was 2 weeks ago with Bill Burr as the stand-up comedian leading things off.
I saw some clips. Do you say coffee from Long Island?
No, because I'm not a lowlife.
Oh, we just got hate mail, and there the Gmail box just blew up.
No. It's a fun, beautiful accent. It's a little bit ugly, but it's fun. No,
is that true? Where you're from, like it's softer.
No,
accent?
it's not. That accent's not really a Long Island accent. That's more like the boroughs. That's like somewhere in like Queens or Brooklyn more. Long Island is more like swallow level.
Interesting. Speaking of dialects.
Yeah. So today on this show, we're going to be talking about. We're going to have a little crossover episode, if you will, right? So Todd
does a crossover
episode. So Todd does does this thing called Hollywood Walk of Fame Wednesdays, right? Am I saying that right?
The title is Walk of Fame Wednesdays.
Walk of Fame Wednesdays.
Pickering.
Forget the Hollywood. It's Walk of Fame Wednesdays with Todd Pickering. He's got a beautiful Instagram page. He does it every other week right now, right?
I do it on my YouTube. I do it on my Instagram. I put, a link.
Right.
I don't know if I probably should have a separate one, but it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
The main channel.
Right. So that's what we're looking for. He wants to monetize that YouTube, people. So go to his Instagram, find his Walk of Fame Wednesdays and click on him, because he's talking about old Hollywood. Todd is he knows this stuff. He finds a star on the Walk of Fame and he goes in depth with why this act or band or whatever they are is on the Walk of Fame. Usually I think he sticks with actors, right? Most of the time.
Yeah, I've branched out. I mean, when I do bands, you can't monetize them. They get the money, which is great. You know what I mean? Like, if they were to, they don't knock it off of your site, but it's completely monetized by them, which is fine. Bands are harder to do. My impetus was the silent stars, because I'd see a name. You see Ray Charles on the Walk of Fame. You know who that is, right? But then you see Charles Ray, and you're like, who's that?
Who the heck is that? Yeah.
He was an ingenue silent star. And I'm sorry, these people from the 20s make the 80s look like kindergarten.
In what way?
With the drinking, drugging, spending, and whoring around. I mean, it was an interesting time period. So that was why I started, but nobody clicks on my... They don't know who they are. Barbara Lamar, Blanche Sweet, Charles Ray, And
now I'm jealous of these people in hindsight, like why couldn't I have been a star then when you could get away with everything because there was no social media? Well,
again, it's interesting because people talk about nowadays in Hollywood, I don't know, we this is such a huge topic, about, it's all about how you look. Well, back during the silent movies, it literally was all how you looked.
Yeah, because they couldn't hear your stupid voice.
You had to be hot.
Right.
And you really didn't need to be that great of an actor. You want to talk about a director's medium, and you had to be hot. And if you look at these people, it's weird because it's foreign and it's an odd art form, but you're like, when you look at them, you're like, yeah, they're pretty damn stunning.
Especially for the time, and standards of beauty change, but they were the most beautiful people at that time.
Right? But when you really look at them, when you get rid of the haircuts and the black and white, you're like, wow, they're kind of supermodel male and female people. And you're also, very few of them became, Joan Crawford was a silent star. Ronald Coleman was one of the very handsome, very good looking, and he ended up having, this amazing voice. So when Talkies came on, his stardom just blew up even more. So
yeah. And now we were going to shift a little bit
yes.
to talking specifically about the Barrymores, right? And there's sort of a royalty as far as Hollywood is concerned. And they even continue today, right? Drew Barrymore is in the business and working pretty steadily.
I would say they're acting royalty rather than Hollywood royalty.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty accurate because they were really only actors, right? They weren't necessarily filmmakers.
Well,
Or were
interestingly enough, I'd say that Lionel Barrymore's first nomination was for directing the second Academy Awards for directing a film called Madam X.
So maybe they are Hollywood royalty, Todd. Maybe I was correct.
Well, they did lots of films, so I mean, but they all were quite elderly by the time they were making films.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Just because they
weren't hot anymore, people. That's how it goes.
Well, they still had to cast men. They still had to cast moms and dads.
Right.
You know, and there were some wacky, you know, there were stars that were in their 60s and 70s in the teens. So, you know, they didn't go anywhere near talking pictures before they passed away. Yeah. But this is interesting because to plug my channel, I've pretty much done all of the history of the Walk of Fame, having finished the Barrymores, and the research is crazy on the Barrymores. So, because people are probably out. This is a preview. So, Drew's father was John Drew Barrymore, who has a star and probably doesn't deserve it. Whom at age 15 she completely divorced. I don't think she ever saw him when she got her own apartment and got sober.
Right.
He tried to be a movie star. I watched a Western. Oh my God, I've been watching so many movies. I didn't write that. Oh, yes, I did. I have it in one of my sheets.
So it sounds like this situation with her father getting the star was kind of like, you know, you're an idiot, but your whole family went to Harvard, so they're gonna let you in because you're a legacy.
Yeah. High Lonesome was his second movie, and he had a lead, and it's a cowboy picture. It's free. I think it's on YouTube or Amazon. I can't remember. It's delightful Western. He's fine. But then his father was John Barrymore, who married Dolores, whose third wife, I think. Yeah, third wife was Dolores Costello, who was a silent film star. That's Drew's grandmother. They divorced shortly after he was born. He had a major he had a major alcohol problem, John Barrymore.
Yeah.
And then his older sister was Ethel Barrymore, and his older brother was Lionel Barrymore, and so they're brothers and sisters. That's Drew's.
So how did it start? How did these folks get into the business? Like, what was the seminal?
So their parents were actors.
Whose parents?
The three brothers and sisters.
Okay,
Lionel, Ethel, and John.
So let's take it back. So you got Drew Barrymore, who's working today. Then you got her dad. So that's one generation. He was not really worth much as far as getting a star. He was fine, nothing great. Then you go back another generation to Drew's father's parents, right? Now that's still now. So, and then one more before that, that's when it all started. So it's basically four
Even
generations.
Before that. So Drew's great grandmother was, so what's their names? I got it written down because I mean, all the names. Drew's great grandmother was Georgina Emma Drew. Her last name was Drew, her great grandmother's name. And she came from an acting family. So her parents acted in Philadelphia.
So now Drew's great grandparents, basically.
Yeah. And the father was not from an acting family. His full name was Herbert Arthur Chamberlain Blythe. So the real surname is Blythe. But his stage name was Maurice Barrymore. And he came over to work on Broadway and met Georgina Emma Drew, whose family was grandma was an actor and a producer. So this is a family. So Lionel, Ethel, and John all said they were not going to be actors. They didn't want to go into the family business. They all and they all ended up on the stage. Most of them at 15. And John was the one that really tried not to be an actor. So it's scary.
And he's still got a star on the Walk of Fame.
Well, last night I watched the only movie that all three of them appeared in, which is Rasputin and the Empress.
How was it?
And Rasputin is played by Lionel Barrymore, the eldest. And the Empress is played by Ethel Barrymore, her first talking picture. She'd done tons of silence because she was such a stage actress, probably more so than the gentleman. And then the prince, I never really figured out how he's related. Maybe was played by John Barrymore. So kind of the up against Lionel. Now, here's an interesting thing. When you click on Amazon, here's a fun fact, everybody. When you watch a movie on Amazon, you should click on the trivia.
Oh yeah, that's the best part of it sometimes.
So it's based on the Romanovs, right?
Yeah.
And Rasputin, which I don't know a lot about, except for that he was the Mad Monk.
The advisor who wouldn't die. Supposedly he was poisoned, shot, stabbed, and he just wouldn't die, right?
Yeah, that's what you see in the movie.
Thing. Yeah.
The big drama scene. So I think it was interesting because the copy I saw, he rapes, oh, there's my phone. I didn't
Todd,
shut off.
We know you're popular. We know you're popular. You don't have to have
just,
it.
Please vote. That's all I get. So I will, I promise. So it was based on real people, and Rasputin raped John Barrymore's fiancée in the movie, but they cut it because it was too racy. Yeah. And it kind of doesn't make sense because she does a 180, the character, like all of a sudden she hates Rasputin, but they left that scene out.
Oh, I see.
And the reason they left it out was they had escaped Russia before the Romanovs were killed. These people that it was based on. Mm-hmm. So they sued, was it whatever, MGM, I think it was. They sued them and won. And that created in 1932, that created at the end of every movie they put, this is based on
fictional characters.
Any of the likenesses of people dead or alive are merely coincidental. That's what that movie created. So you watch these movies that, they don't hold up great, and you get to see, this acting dynasty, but then you're like, holy crap, this is the movie that created something here in 2020 we're still seeing.
And it gives an indication of how our society specifically, or particularly American society, has been fairly litigious for a long time. I mean, that's...
It also made me go, why in the world would they... It's obvious these are the Romanovs. They changed their last names. I mean, with real footage from Russia, interspersed every time they go between the scenes, they show the armies mobilizing.
Wow.
Which was common in the 20s too.
Yeah.
In old silent movies was to take footage because everybody was using this new medium of film.
Yeah.
For news and stuff. So they would take, they'd shoot them in the studios here in Hollywood.
But I don't know how much we need to get into this, but it's something I need to look up about how that works. And just a curiosity, like if someone, was obviously playing me on screen, but they didn't ask me about it or give me any credit for it, like I could still sue them today, right?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Right.
But I guess if they put that misnomer, here's interesting. We were talking about the Cohen Brothers, which we're going to talk about. I remember watching that movie with somebody from Minnesota, Fargo area, and it says that at the beginning of the movie. And I really enjoyed the film based on a true story. Any likeness, it says that right at the beginning. And they sometimes put it at the beginning too. And they did in that movie, if I recall. And somebody goes, yeah, the real story, I didn't come to see the real story. If I wanted to see the real story, I'd research it. Yeah, that didn't really happen. It wasn't that scandalous. It's like, well, that's why it says based on.
Yeah, that's, people don't write about the thing that's not as scandalous. They write about the thing that's super scandalous because that's what people want to see on screen, because that's why we watch movies and films, to see people reacting in the most heightened of circumstances.
Yeah. So to finish I know we digress, but these are all great digressions. That's what I mean. When you go to watch, I go to watch all these Barrymore films. They were both in Dinner at 8, the brothers. They were both in Grand Hotel.
Okay.
And there was another movie that I hadn't seen that they were definitely in. Grand Hotel is interesting because it's the only Oscar-winning movie that only had one nomination.
Interesting.
In the history of Oscars.
Was it for Best Picture? No.
Well, yeah, one for Best Picture, so that's the only nomination it got.
So I want to point out to the listeners here, especially people in the industry, actors especially, like Todd has seen so many of these movies. Be like Todd. And I can say that because I'm giving myself this advice at the same time. The resources, especially like we've said, are out there for people to see these movies. And it can seem a little tedious, but I know for myself, like once I get in that zone, you start watching these films, it becomes like anything else. Like, oh, I'll watch this time and that next time. And yeah. But again, I need to take this advice myself. Because really, like we set this up to be sort of me asking Todd about this because he's very knowledgeable about this subject. And like the deepest my knowledge really goes is that there's a really fun play called I Hate Hamlet, right? And in this play, the lead character is preparing to play Hamlet in the New York City's public theater's summer production, Shakespeare in the Park, right? Very well known. And he's a soap star. The lead character is actually a soap star, but just like the public often does in this play, this soap star gets asked to come and play Hamlet to put butts in the seats and bring prestige to this summer production. And he knows nothing in the play, just like so many of these actors that are soap stars or like Hollywood stars, but not theater stars. He doesn't know anything about playing Shakespeare, or becoming Hamlet or any of that stuff, right? So he enlists the help of the ghost of Lionel Barrymore to be his, acting muse, if you will, to sort of help him perform Hamlet. And it's a great play.
Isn't it John Barrymore that he?
Did I say Lionel? I think my memory is failing me. It could be John.
Well, John was known. Orson Welles and Sir John Gielgud said that he performed the best Hamlet ever.
Okay, that's probably John. See, this is what I'm talking about.
But who knows? Here's the other thing. That could be the truth, and the playwright could have put Lionel Barrymore because most of us don't know the difference.
Yeah, right. Know the difference. It doesn't necessarily matter, but not anymore.
Well, and John was such a drunk that in his later in his, he couldn't perform in movies anymore. Couldn't remember his lines. Couldn't show up. Yeah. So his last years were doing Shakespeare on the radio.
Oh, interesting.
Where he could, read.
Yeah, make a thing of it. So the last thing I want to say about that play is there's a really great monologue that for a very long time was super overdone, like really, really overdone, like everybody did it. But now not so much, and there's even a snippet of the grand speech. The monologue is all about giving the most famous speech in Hamlet and how he feels like he nails this speech, but then failed at everything else. So it provides an opportunity for an actor to do Shakespeare without actually doing Shakespeare, because there's a couple of lines of it within.
How much of Shakespeare is in the play?
Actual Shakespeare, I think that's it as far as actual quoting from Shakespeare. It's the to be or not to be speech, right? He gives the first couple of lines. He's recalling the night before when he did a brilliant job giving this speech. So especially if you're a male actor, but I think women could do the speech at this time too. This point too. I think it's just a great monologue for any actor to show if they are supposed to be like a frustrated character.
Sarah Bernhardt, the greatest performer of all times, they say, topped Madonna as far as box office sales kind of thing. She was famous for playing Hamlet. Starting
right?
The tradition of women doing it. So I say, all you women listening out there, do it. In fact, I would, if it's an overdone monologue, even in the past, if you're a woman, definitely do it.
Yeah, I think that's a very good piece of advice. I mean, back in the 1600s, men played everything, so why shouldn't women be able to play everything now, right? It doesn't make any sense for it not to be that way these days.
So look up the Barrymores. I don't know. I liked Rasputin and the Empress. It's an over-the-top story, and he was, the mad monk crazy. Yeah. So I thought it was fun.
Are there any other, in modern day times, besides Drew Barrymore, are the Barrymores a presence otherwise, or is it pretty much just her at this point?
She has a brother that's an actor, I think, but I don't think he has any notoriety. They both John Barrymore Sr. and John Barrymore Jr., which was his real name. He added the Drew Barrymore to make his name different. He just added Drew Barrymore, John Drew Barrymore. For his name. He wasn't a junior. They both were married 4 times.
Huh. Like you do if you're in Hollywood.
It's such.
Yeah,
that's sometimes really short. But watch Walk of Fame Wednesdays, please.
No, not please, Todd. Okay, you can say please. I'm demanding it of people.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm your, I'm your enforcer. Yes, I have filmed some, and so I do have a stake in this. Todd's cutting me in, so it's only for my own, financial well-being that I'm asking you to win. No, it's good. It's good edification. They're quick too. They're quick. They're fun. Todd gets dressed up and he's out there on like a Hollywood Reporter sort of, but he's giving you some fun history.
Which episodes did you do? Gilda Radner?
Good Lord. Gilda Radner, I can't even remember. We did a couple during the Black Lives Matter movement, the big push for that when that stuff was all over Hollywood, right? So who did we do?
And it was closed there, so there's some really fun footage of Hollywood, just Boulevard, because it was closed down.
Yeah.
And they had the protests there, and so there's lots of artwork and
I want to clarify, like that wasn't, the Black Lives Matter movement thankfully has not stopped. Like that was at its most forceful, but hopefully it keeps going with that force.
Right, but Black Lives Matter is all over Hollywood Boulevard because they had some protests there. I think
that was the
point is that you get to see some cool footage of what Hollywood's protests looked like during the shutdown, and because it's such a tourist area and everything was closed, it was a nice place to do it.
Yeah, it was actually fun to be out there and shooting. And it was easy to be socially distant and all that because it was pretty much shut down.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks for helping me plug my channel. By the way, this is going to take some time to do the Barrymores, so it probably won't be it'll be published this year.
Okay. Take your time. Make it perfect, Todd.
Because there's 6 stars to do, because I'm going to tuck Dolores Costello in there.
Wow.
Because she's Drew's grandma. And then I'm actually going to do Ethel, John, and Lionel on their own.
Cool.
That's how I worked it out, because it's like there's too much to say about these people, and if I say everything, it'll be a 15-minute episode, and nobody wants to watch that. So I'm going to do them all individually also.
Especially for YouTube, yeah.
So it'll take a while. I'll have to do a few extra ones. All right, thanks everybody. Email us.
Email us, theoutsidersbiz@gmail.com. Hang in there. Take care.